Good evening, good people. Hey everybody. Y'all, we got 20,000 people on this Zoom call tonight. And that's not even including all the folks that are watching on live streams all over the interwebs. So if you're watching on the live streams, we see you, we appreciate you. Thanks for not regarding it robbery for being here with us tonight. We're going to get started with our speakers in just a minute or two. But in the meantime, while I'm setting the tone for this evening, I want you to go ahead, settle in, take your shoes off, get comfortable. I'm glad that you had an opportunity to enjoy the video coverage of No Kings that we just showed. I hope you saw yourselves. I want you to remember that this is an opportunity for you to invite your homies, tell your friends, your neighbors, your colleagues, your kinfolk to come on and get into this live stream where we finally settle the question that lots of folks have been asking. What's next after the No Kings mass mobilization? I'm going to talk about that, and you're going to hear from speakers that are going to tell you what's next throughout the next hour. Let's start to get into it. Again, I want to thank you so much for being here. I think we've got every nook and cranny of this country, from the hoods to the hollers, covered on the call tonight. Thank you all for being here. My name is Ashley Woodard Henderson. Some of y'all know me because I've been hosting these mass calls since April of last year, with the Working Families Party, with Indivisible, with Move On, with Seed the Vote, Showing Up for Racial Justice, the Movement for Black Lives, so many other incredible partners. Thank you all for being here. And many of you that know me in real life know that I have been cheerleading this No Kings moment for quite some time. And not just because I thought it was going to be a moment, but because I felt like it was critical to a pivot into a mass movement, a big front of us to say, absolutely not on our watch will we allow authoritarian consolidation of power happen in our country. That enough is enough, and there's enough of us, the majority of us, the people of goodwill, that can make it stop. So I think I'm in the right place. I think you're in the right place. I'm going to be your host and MC for the evening, and I'm so excited about what we have lined up for you. Before I hand it over to our first speakers, I'm going to do some quick housekeeping. So first of all, closed captioning is available for this call. So if you are on YouTube or on Zoom and you don't yet see captions and you want to, you can click the CC button at the bottom of your screen. Again, if you want to see the closed captioning, you can just go down, press the CC button at the bottom of your Zoom or YouTube screen, and you will see the captions. Second, and the question that I always get the most, I'm already getting text messages asking me about it. I'm sure if I checked my email today, I would see emails asking about it. This call is being recorded. We are recording this call for heretofore, for the foreseeable future. You can imagine that if it is a mass call, we will likely record it. We are recording this one this evening, and you're going to receive a follow-up email with this recording, as well as with all of the links to the calls to action, and you'll get information that all of the speakers are sharing tonight via email. So I promise you, if you're tuning in later and you're watching the recording, you're going to get all of this via email. You do not have to stress out. If you miss what someone says, we're going to make sure that we get follow up with you so that you can actually participate in all of what's coming next after our massive mobilization for No Kings. So the call is being recorded. You're going to get an email with all the links and information. We're going to share that with you after the call tonight. And last but certainly not least, you've noticed that we've turned off the chat and the Q&A features of Zoom and YouTube tonight. That is simply because of the size of the call, y'all. Like, we want to make sure that y'all can hear the speakers and that you're not getting lost in the sauce of 20,000 people chatting in the Zoom and however many folks are watching on YouTube right now. So we're going to turn that off for now. We're so glad to have so many people bringing energy and your presence, your spirit with us tonight. And we know that what our speakers are going to cover is going to reverberate and come to fruition through the on-the-ground organizing, the debriefing, the processing, the vision building toward next steps that folks like you are going to be doing in your local communities after tonight. But it would not be a mass call if we didn't create some opportunity for you to get in conversation with us. So if you want to chat with me via the interwebs, I want you to do something for me. I want you to use the social media app of your choice and continue to use the hashtag No Kings, hashtag No Kings, throughout the call. That's a way for you all to talk to each other and for me to be able to see if you're saying anything to me and our speakers tonight. We can practice right now. I want you to get your phone or your laptop ready, go to the social media app of your choice, and I want you to tell me that you're on the call tonight and invite the people that you're friends with on that social media app to join us. So I want you to go on the social media app of your choice. I want you to use hashtag no kings, and I want you to say, hey, I'm tuned in tonight because I am ready to follow up on our direct action, our protest, our mass mobilization with some concrete things, some meaningful work moving forward to seal the deal on making sure that we salvage democracy and we stop this authoritarian so-called king. If you're into it, do it, and I'll try to find you on the interwebs and shout you out throughout the call. All right. Now that we've got the logistics out of the way, I also want to do some grounding for tonight because I know that many of you, like me, are rushing from other meetings, maybe from taking care of your kiddos or your parents, maybe from doing some self-care, that many of us have been working all day and you might be coming straight off the clock. So let's take a second to arrive together. I'm going to invite you to take in a deep breath through your nose and breathe it out through your mouth. Let's get grounded. Because what a big moment we just created together. It happened. We mobilized millions of people over the weekend. We did it. And while there's so much incredible, incredible things that have come from it, so much that remains undone that we will do together, so much solidarity to continue to live into. We also don't have to ignore that some of us came because we felt alone, we felt hopeless, we felt powerless. Some of us came even though it was scary, and we don't have to ignore our fear. Being brave and courageous does not mean we're not scared. But this weekend was also so much more than fear. As you're going to hear about shortly, this was an incredible day of solidarity and strategic nonviolent protest. That said, we also know that this weekend was not without its losses. In particular, we want to take a moment to acknowledge and mourn the loss of Arthur Balassa Alou, who was shot in Salt Lake City. The entire No Kings coalition was completely devastated to hear of this news, and our hearts go out to Office family, to Office friends, to every single one of us impacted by this tragedy. In Salt Lake City, a day of joyous protest ended with senseless violence. The Constitution is supposed to afford us the right to peacefully assemble, and this shooting does not take away that inherent right. It only strengthens our resolve to rise together with one another in solidarity against harm to any and every single one of us. We all deserve to live in healthy, sustainable, and equitable communities. Y'all, this is our opportunity to remember that we get to assemble in protest and bend the moral arc of the universe towards justice, beloved community, and democracy in the face of the violence that we see every day, and especially that we saw this weekend. I want to let you know that there is a GoFundMe to support Office family during this terribly challenging time. And we're going to drop the link in the chat right now. I'm going to give, and I want you to support if you can. So please click the link in the chat, the GoFundMe link in the chat, to support Office family during this time. Let's take another collective breath together. Breathe in our commitment to each other. Breathe in our desire to live in a country and a world with no kings. Breathe in this desire to experience democracy together, where everyone gets to experience it with all of us. And breathe out fear, breathe out division, breathe out all the things that attempt to fracture and dismember us from one another. Let's take another deep breath in, full of love and solidarity and camaraderie, solidarity with Office family and all the people that are impacted by violence in all of its forms in every single place in our neighborhoods, in this country, in this world. And let's breathe out love and solidarity until it reaches every single corner, from the hollers to the hoods, across our states, across the US, and across the world. We remain proud and grateful for everything that was accomplished this weekend, every good thing, everything that laughed and built joy and community in the face of evil, and every single one of you who are part of that. And we're not going to stop here. Now I have the esteemed privilege to hand it off to my friend and my colleague Ezra. Y'all know Ezra, the co-founder of Indivisible, to talk about how we got to know kings and how this became the story of this moment. Ezra, I'll toss it to you.
Hey, Ashley, I am so thankful you are here to lead us through this. I can't help but just get fired up every time you are leading a call. It's like you channel the energy from all over the country. And God, I mean, looking at the emojis and people talking about where they're coming from, you just get this sense of how far afield everybody is. Every nook and cranny of this country was coming together this weekend. I'm going to kind of try to go briefly because I get to turn it over to some incredible group leaders. Uh, so some context, y'all. A little reminder of how we got to where we are right now. When we heard Trump was planning his absolutely pathetic birthday military parade to waste 100 million of our dollars, our taxpayer dollars, on this ridiculous authoritarian theatrical shambolic event. Look, that was ridiculous, but it was worse than ridiculous. It was dangerous. Straight out of the authoritarian playbook. This is the kind of thing you expect to see in a North Korea and in China, not in the United States of America. And it was obvious to all of us what his goal was. It was obvious to anybody watching what his goal was. He wanted to project strength. He wanted to cow the opposition into submission. That's why we put together No King's Day, to send a message that democracy was reasserting itself, that people are the ultimate source of political power, and in America, the people aren't going to bow to a king. That was the simple plan. Sounded like a pretty good plan to me, but look, a plan is just a plan until people make it real. When we launched nearly 2 months ago, there were what, a few dozen events on the map. By June 14th, 2,169 events worldwide. I want to call out, I'm with Indivisible. This is not the Indivisible show. This is not the Indivisible show. Uh, AFT, ACLU, Black Voters Matter, Common Defense, Union Veterans Council. By the time of Saturday, there were 250 partners all over the country who were getting behind this. And we were spreading the word through word of mouth. We were spreading the word through grassroots leaders. We were also spreading the word through new media. I really got to shout out new and independent media that helped spread this word, because when legacy corporate media was ignoring what was going on the ground, with some exceptions, Rachel Maddow, but when lots of legacy media was ignoring it, we saw folks like the creators, like Lee McGowan, Politics Girl, Aaron Parnas, new media operations like The Contrarian and Midas Touch. For folks who are in this space, you know media is oxygen for a social movement. It's oxygen. And when the corporate legacy media declines to cover what's happening on the ground, we get oxygen from this burgeoning field of creators, of influencers, of media mavens. This is a partnership that's early in its existence, but it's yielding fruit. The proof is in the pudding. All told, y'all, what did we do together? We put on one of the largest protests in American history. Sit with that. One of the largest protests in American history. Trump wanted to send this message to the world, this message of strength. We sent that message instead. That's what we did together. Blue states, red states, purple states, city centers, suburbs, rural America, LA, Chicago, Austin, Atlanta, New York City, Homer, Alaska, Boise, Idaho, Lockhart, Texas, Winnebago, Wisconsin. We have friends everywhere. That's what we showed. A conservative estimate has us turning out more than 5 million people across more than 20 countries. I was in Philadelphia. I was with Randy Weingarten from the AFT, Rural Roman from Georgia, the Dr. King's family, and about 100,000 Americans showing up in defense of democracy. And God, I wish I could tell the stories from all 2,169 of the events that happened this weekend, but that would take all night for several weeks. So I'm going to leave that up to the historians to tell that in detail. But before we get to the practical action items, I know that's important to all of us. We want to do, we want to act. I want to encourage us to recognize it is our duty to celebrate. This work is hard. The opposition is relentless. They want to wear us down. Celebration under autocratic breakthrough is an act of defiance. That's what we're doing right now. So, just to give us a small taste of the power across the country this weekend, I'm excited to introduce some representatives from two events who are going to share about their work. Now, they did this in the face of horrific tragedy. Minnesotans showed up. You showed up anyway, and I'm honored, I'm thrilled, I'm proud to be in this movement with y'all and to introduce Rebecca Larson and Lisa Herbs, the co-founders, co-leaders of Indivisible's Twin Cities. Rebecca and Lisa, take it away.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Ezra. Um, we woke up Saturday morning and ready to go hold our event at the state capitol in St. Paul, and got the news that two of our legislators and their spouses had been shot in their homes during the night. We knew it wasn't an accident, that it happened on June 14th, but we decided to go to the Capitol and to the March start site, um, so that we could start setting up, because we just didn't have enough information at that point to make any big decisions. Um, Unfortunately, quickly we found out that Melissa Hartman, who had at one time been the Speaker of the House in Minnesota, and her husband Mark had been killed in that attack. And at that point, everything just sort of blew up. We were immediately being in contact by the Minnesota State Police, our contacts that we'd worked with, about canceling our event. And we thought about it for maybe 15 seconds, and then we realized very quickly that we had to honor Melissa and her husband. I'm sorry, I knew I wasn't going to get through this. um, but we also didn't want to give the murderer what he wanted, and that was to upset these events all over the country, and that if we canceled, we were giving in to him. We were bowing to him and to the authoritarians. So we quickly threw our program right out the window. The governor and lieutenant governor were supposed to speak. They both had to cancel because of security concerns, and that was our main concern too. We were very worried about the people that were gathering, and they were gathering by thousands. I mean, we already very early on we had thousands of people at the Capitol and at the March site. So we ended up kind of just winging it right from the get-go. We had quite a few musicians that we'd lined up, and they all got there a little early. And so we just started putting them on stage. We asked them to be respectful and to kind of tone things down a bit, because of the somber mood, but they all did it, and they were amazing. And then we didn't know if we were going to have any speakers show up, but Keith Ellison, our Attorney General, was right there on the spot, ready to go. And he was also he inspired everyone. And as we went through, every time I just sort of turn around and there would be a speaker standing there, and I just would go, okay, get up on the stage. And we just, all but three people showed up and spoke. And at the end of the day, it was just actually really beautiful. Rebecca?
Yep, I'm ready. Um, yeah, I am just going to talk a little bit about the messages that we tried to send to the crowd that um, ultimately gathered, and we're estimating that 80,000 people showed up. And we gave a moment of silence for Melissa and Mark. Our colleague from Minnesota 5051 gave a tribute to Melissa and the work that she had done for the state of Minnesota and Minnesotans. And then I spoke representing Indivisible and talked about a little, basically I was scheduled to speak at the end, but I spoke at the beginning. And interestingly enough, what I had planned to say at the end was still appropriate for the beginning, maybe even more so. And like many of us, we've been quoting Reverend William Barber, which is how I began. And I said, in the words of Reverend William Barber, no one can be a king unless we bow. And I told the crowd assembled, today we have not bowed. You have shown courage. You could have made the choice to stay home, but you didn't. And this was prescient. When I wrote these words, I didn't know what we were going to be faced with in that moment. This choice is not free of risk, which was so apparent that day, and there are reasons to feel fear. But today you showed up with millions of others around the country in resistance to the wrecking ball that this administration is taking to our people and our democracy. And then I talked about
what became a theme throughout the program. We know what works. We know that sustained, nonviolent, peaceful protest is what has worked throughout history and across the globe to topple authoritarians. And we are one of those peaceful and nonviolent movements right here, right now. And I ask people to just keep showing up, to keep coming back as the call to action in that moment. And it was, as Lisa said too, it was changing as we went along. We could feel the power in that group. It was in that in the people gathered. It was palpable. It was incredible. Um, and then from there, I introduced Attorney General Ellison, who gave a moving speech. He knew Melissa Hortman very well. They had worked together. And then as Lisa said, we continued and gave every speaker a chance to speak to the crowd and tell us what we needed to hear. And that's what we did in front of 80,000 people.
Oh, we can do better than that. I see all the emojis flying. Folks are blowing up my blue sky, showing you all so much love. Lisa and Rebecca, I said it earlier when we were getting ready. Y'all are my sheroes. Thank you for being brave in the face of just evil. Just evil. Pure and simple. Just evil. Thank you for being good in a moment where evil could have distracted us, could have quieted us, could have scared us away from doing the right thing. Thank you for pushing the moral arc of the universe toward justice. We're so grateful for both of you and for being here. Know that we love you. We've got you. We got your back. We're right here, ready and able to support you all. So thank you again for being here and sharing the story of what went down this weekend. We love y'all. Y'all show some love for them again. Follow Indivisible Twin Cities because they're doing righteous work out here in the world. Make sure you hashtag no king so we can show them your love later after the call is over. Lisa and Rebecca, thank you for everything.
Thanks so much.
For everything.
Thank
All
you.
right, y'all. What a powerful event we just heard about. And thank you, Ezra, for reminding us that it was here, there, and everywhere. That's how many of us came to this call. We also know we've got some homies here that maybe couldn't go to a protest, so they're coming to see what went down and how they can get involved now. So I'm going to keep us pushing forward, and I am so excited to bring up our next guest speaker. Y'all, I'm not introducing her to anybody. Y'all all know and love her because she's been a people's champion. Representative Pramila Jayapal is on the call with us tonight. Representative Jayapal was elected to Washington's 7th District in 2016. Y'all know her because she's been in the streets with us. She's a lifelong organizer for immigrant, civil, and human rights. She is the former chair of the Congressional Progressive Caucus and has been an advocate and an incredibly resolute ally in the inside-outside work of grassroots movements and congressional strategy. Representative Jayapal, welcome.
Thank you so much, Ashley. Thank you, Ezra. Oh my God. Thank you, Lisa and Rebecca. That was so beautiful. And I know I was so moved, and I ended up having to change my whole speech and start with what happened in Minnesota, because I think in so many ways, this is about recognizing all of the truths that are out there. And there are really horrible truths out there that are driving us. And so I want to just start with a huge thank you to all the Minnesota folks and to everybody across this country for standing up and channeling that outrage and that anger at the actions of this administration and all the people that they have essentially allowed to do these terrible things. Huge thank you to all the organizations, Indivisible, of course, ACLU, American Federation of Teachers, 50501, Black Voters Matter, Public Citizen, Common Defense, Human Rights Campaign. This was just what the country needed to see, what people in our cities across the country needed to see. And Saturday's No Kings was incredible, really incredible. Such a unifying day of protest all across the country, with an estimated 5 million people. You heard Ezra say that, but it deserves repeating. 5 million people representing diverse voices from different communities and backgrounds, different ages, different races, different ideologies, but everybody saying, this was our chant in Seattle, no kings, no crowns, the people won't bow down. Our event here in Seattle was incredible. It was, I think, the second largest in our history as a city. More than 70,000 people showed up. And the energy was just so powerful because I think it is really important for people to realize that they are not alone and that we have to come together and show Trump and his minions that power doesn't flow from the top down, it flows from the bottom up, it flows from we the people, and that our collective power is so much stronger than their collective greed and hate, and that our nonviolent resistance will triumph over authoritarianism. I mentioned that it was not an easy speech for me to give, actually. And, I got emotional talking about what happened in Minnesota in the wake of so many horrific things, from the ice raids to the indictment of my colleague, LaMonica McIver, and the assault and the handcuffing of Alex Padilla. And what I think was so beautiful, at least here in Seattle, I think across the country, what I'm hearing is that we held all of these moments together as we needed to do and will continue to need to do. That is the way that we win, by just taking the time to acknowledge the things we're feeling, being real about it, and then using that to build our strength together. Now we have to take the success, the joy, the energy of No Kings forward with us. Now, I think some of you know about the 3.5% rule. It says that the people are most successful at stopping dictators and authoritarians when the number of people taking multiple actions, engaging in non-cooperation and nonviolent resistance reaches a sustained 3.5% of the population. 5 million gets us halfway there, folks. So it is absolutely possible for us to continue to build and to inspire the people in our neighborhoods, rural, urban, swing district, purple, red, state, whatever. We need to keep going, and we need to meet this moment with our strength, our anger turned into power. We know that the Trump administration is going to continue to escalate. They're going to continue to attack vulnerable communities and our democracy. And it's all part, it's not disconnected things, y'all. It is part of a coordinated effort to exert complete power over us, right? To strip our healthcare and our education, to silence our speech, to bully our kids, to control our bodies, all the while enriching themselves. Well, I think what we showed on Saturday and what we will show into the future is, in America, we don't have kings, and we say, hell no. This weekend, we showed them that we're paying attention, and we, the people, will never back down from this fight. So sign up for the next event, go to the next community meeting, stay engaged and informed, stay ready for the next organizing effort. And you don't have to wait. You can do this organizing on your own, and then that can all build into the coordinated events like No Kings this past Saturday. So if I had the bullhorn right now, I would have us all chant together, no kings, no crowns, the people won't back down. But thank you all so much for your work to protect our beautiful and very fragile democracy.
Y'all give it up one time with the No Kings hashtag for our people's champion, Representative John Paul. We're so grateful that you took time out of your incredibly busy schedule to be here with us tonight. We appreciate you. Y'all, I promised that I would shout some of y'all out, and y'all took it to heart. I think people didn't believe that I was really checking the hashtag, but I am, and y'all have blown my blue sky up. So a couple of questions that I want to answer real quick. One, yes, we are recording. Yes, you are going to get a link to the recording, and yes, you are going to get all of the calls to action and information from all of our speakers when the call is concluded. I also want to tell those of you that are saying, Ashley, I can't get into the Zoom. It's all good. We got you, boo. Just go on over to YouTube, and we've dropped the link to the YouTube live stream in the chat and comments. So I need my friends that are on social media to copy that link and put it out in the world so folks know that they can join us on the live stream, because y'all maxed out the Zoom call before we could even fully get into the call. So make sure that our folks can see it, put it on Blue Sky, put it on Instagram, all the places that you are. We want to make sure that people that are looking for us can find us. Yes. So do that, and make sure you hashtag it No King so I can shout you out. A couple of folks that I want to shout out before we move into the next speaker. I see one of our colleagues. What is your name? Your name is Alan Gardner. And Alan said that he's on the Zoom tonight. His 89-year-old mom was at the mass mobilization on Saturday in New York. And she's here on the Zoom call with us tonight. So, hello, ma'am. We're glad that you are here. I also see Ruth, who told me that in her town of 16,483 people in Vienna, Virginia, they had 1,489 people show up. So shout out to the folks in the red states. Shout out for the folks in the hollers, in the country towns. I see y'all. Thank you for showing up and showing out for No Kings and making this more than a moment, but a movement. Y'all heard from the Congresswoman about why it's so important that we accomplished what we did this past weekend, as well as why it's so incredibly crucial that we keep going. And to talk more about what it looks like to keep going and our theory of change in this moment of authoritarian breakthrough, I'm so excited to bring up my sister and my friend in this work, Maria Stephan of the Horizons Project. Y'all show some love for Maria as she comes online. Maria, it's so good to see your face.
Thank you so much, Ashley. It's wonderful to be in this space with you. And huge thank you to everyone on this call who made No Kings a stunning success, and special love to our friends in Minnesota who persevered in the face of tremendous adversity to bring people out. And to resist in this moment. So thank you all. 5 million people in towns and villages across this country, including in deep red districts, is no joke. You all smashed it. Mass protests like these are incredibly powerful. They build a sense of unity, solidarity, and connection. They show that lots of people from diverse parts of society are fed up with the status quo. They shift social norms about what is acceptable and what isn't, and they create the social permission for groups to stop complying with the authoritarian status quo. So I'm going to ask my friends at Indivisible to show some slides. So this is the key, and Representative Jayapal was referring to the research from about how nonviolent resistance movements around the world have defeated authoritarian regimes. So the key here is understanding that we need to get the pillars of support for authoritarianism. These are the organizations and institutions that provide autocrats with the social, political, and economic power they need to wield control. Think here, businesses, religious organizations, bureaucracies, unions, professional associations, media outlets, police, and military. All of these pillars whose skills, resources, and power autocrats rely on, we need to get these pillars to stop complying with authoritarian regimes. That's key to the success of our pro-democracy movements. Next slide, please. Leaders from our civil rights movement, probably our greatest pro-democracy movement in this country, completely understood this. They understood that simply protesting the politicians backing Jim Crow or relying on advocacy and litigation alone was insufficient. They needed to target the enablers of racial authoritarianism, notably the civic institutions and businesses that were propping it up. That was the logic behind the Montgomery bus boycott, one of the greatest civil resistance campaigns in the history of the world, and the lunch counter sit-ins, where Black folks helped to defund the businesses that were enabling segregation. These campaigns visibilized non-cooperation. They generated pressure, and they strengthened the legal and legislative action towards multiracial democracy. Next slide. But of course, these pillars are not monolithic. They are made up of people with different identities, interests, and loyalties. This is just an example of what the cross-section of the business pillar looks like, with CEOs in the middle, investors, workers, consumers. So understanding where people within key pillars fall. Are they actively or passively supporting authoritarian practices? Are they on the fence? Are they on our side? So understanding this is key to designing campaigns whose goal it is to shift their incentives. Now, the Freedom Trainers group that Ash and I are part of are very focused on developing the skills for how to move and pressure these pillars to bring them, pull them away from supporting authoritarian regimes and towards supporting our pro-democracy movement. But just to say, it's not all protests that move people within these pillars. We know from the research that basic organizing and outreach to members of these pillars is key to getting them to shift their loyalties. Next slide. And we know that targeted pressure on these pillars can be very effective. The Tesla takedown is one of the most powerful consumer boycotts in recent memory, involving not only protests at Tesla stores, social pressure to not buy Tesla, and targeting of pension funds. Tesla's shareholder value has plummeted, and the company has become toxic. And I would just note on June 28th, so coming up, there is a Musk Must Fall global day of celebration to move us to the next level of this non-cooperation campaign. And folks can learn more about that at the TeslaTakedown.com address. Meanwhile, a Lenten fast of Target over its anti-DEI policies, launched by Black faith leaders, has turned into an indefinite boycott, costing the company billions. Not only that, there has been a boycott calling on people to invest in Black-owned businesses. Target parking lots have been sites of communities coming together in mutual aid and solidarity, because it's not just about saying no, it's about loudly saying yes to the alternatives. And this is also the approach that an organization we love, Free DC, is taking. So Free DC is organizing neighborhood by neighborhood and training thousands in organized non-compliance and joyful defiance. And I've also got a tip in this spirit of consumer boycotts, that tomorrow a campaign is being launched targeting T-Mobile for its support of Musk's Starlink. And so just stay tuned. That'll be another way to get actively involved in your communities. Next slide. So we also know that communities are actively not cooperating with ICE. This is being led by our friends in LA, by immigrant rights groups, by faith leaders, restaurant owners, and others across the country. SEIU and the labor movement has shown tremendous leadership, and the assault and detention of David Huerta has backfired. Meanwhile, communities in New Haven, Connecticut, and other cities across the country are putting targeted pressure on Avelo Airlines, which has a contract with ICE to run deportation flights. The city council in New Haven cut out transportation subsidies to Avelo in the latest budget, a huge success due to collective community action. And I would say in this moment, targeting the enablers of ICE repression, which this map shows where all the contracts are across the country, this opens up huge avenues for strategic campaigns, including in red parts of the country. Next slide. Meanwhile, another pillar. We love the story of Sarah Inama, the Idaho teacher and AFT member who refused to take down the "Everyone is Welcome Here" sign. The community backed her up. Small businesses printed thousands of t-shirts in support, and the story went viral. Because indeed, courage is contagious. Next slide. Speaking of courage,
to see the community.
Ooh, I'd love to play that video if we had a few more minutes. Next time. So speaking of courage is contagious, we remember the Episcopal Bishop, Marion Buddy, who spoke truth to power during the inaugural prayer service, received death threats for doing so, and inspired solidarity across the country. And Reverend Barbara powerfully reminded us that Trump won't be king unless we bow. Meanwhile, faith leaders across the country have taken to the streets to denounce the immorality of the big, beautiful budget. And I would say on June 23rd, Interfaith Alliance will be hosting a webinar called "The Faithful Fight, Your Tools for Countering Authoritarianism," which gets into what faith communities can do in this moment. Next slide. coming to the end here. Lots of non-cooperation is happening in red districts, with constituents furious about layoffs and cuts to critical services. Some were recently arrested, in fact, for civil disobedience outside GOP offices at the Capitol. So this represents a huge organizing opportunity for us as the circle of harm expands. Next slide. Just looking internationally, cases where people have effectively pushed back against authoritarianism in places like Poland and South Korea. What was key in both of these places was organized acts of non-cooperation by key pillars. In Poland, it was the lawyers and the judges who didn't just litigate, they took to the streets in their black robes to protest attacks on the judiciary. Meanwhile, the trade unions in South Korea organized strikes when their president called for martial law and attempted a coup. Powerful acts of non-cooperation that were key to stemming the tide of democratic backsliding. Final slide, just to conclude. So yes, I've spent years studying how popular movements have pushed back against authoritarianism around the world. And some of the things that we know from this research is that being able to sustain large and diverse participation and keeping the momentum going, which we'll be talking about on this call, is key to success. And no regime has maintained power when 3.5% of the population has engaged in active protest. Meanwhile, expanding the repertoire of nonviolent tactics, going from the protests and the marches to organized non-cooperation and collective stubbornness is key to success. Being able to bring about loyalty shifts and defections and key pillars of support is key. And being able to maintain discipline in the face of provocations, violence, and repression, and making that repression backfire is key to success. So with that, let me turn it back over to you, Ash.
Y'all didn't know you were going to not only get a debrief of what went down, but you were also going to get some political education on the way to what we need to keep doing. Maria, thank you for educating us with the expectation that we be accountable to continuing to take that new knowledge and doing something with it to save our democracy. We appreciate all of your work. Thank you for being on with us tonight. Y'all are blowing me up online. I should have been more intentional when I told you to use the hashtag, because now you're talking to me and I love it. I want to remind you of a couple things, and I want to answer a couple of questions. One, I want you to remember to look at the chat and the comments in the chat, because we are dropping links for some of the incredible information that our speakers are sharing and some information about the calls to action that they're sharing. So you can see just while Maria was speaking that we now have a link to our incredible homies with Tesla Takedown. Y'all, I'm excited to get some folks to leave T-Mobile and go to a union shop if they don't refuse to continue working with Starlink and putting money in the hands of a billionaire that buys elections. So I want you to make sure that you check out Tesla Takedown and sign up for updates. I want you to check out Freedom Trainers, not just because me and Maria are amazing and we want to be in relationship with you, but because we need to train millions of people on how to not cooperate and not comply and make sure that we do what we need to do to resist this authoritarian consolidation of power. And then check out Faithful Fight, your tools for countering authoritarianism. All of those links are in the comments and chat, and we'll be sure to send them with the recording, because we promise we want to make sure that you continue to be engaged. Y'all, there's a competition happening on Blue Sky. Folks are like, hey, well, I can beat the 89-year-old mother because my 95-year-old mother stood in the rain for 3 hours at what was it? The protest in Montclair, and sang freedom songs, sang protest songs, that there were 9,000 people strong, and that 95-year-old mother is on this call. We see you. Thank you for being here. We love you. Thank you so much. We're also getting a lot of questions about that incredible song that was in the video that we played at the start. We're going to make sure that you've got access to it by sending you all the links to the song on Apple Music and Spotify. We got you. We love you. Now let's keep it pushing for the sake of time, y'all. I still got some incredible speakers that I want you to hear from. Thank you again to Maria. Y'all show Maria and the Horizons Project some love. You heard from Maria about where we're at and what comes next. But you're probably wondering, how do we actually make that concrete, right? How do I fit into that? What meaningful work can I do? And that's actually what the entire rest of our call is about. You're going to hear from movement partners across this incredibly diverse coalition of folks to talk about ways that you can plug in from right where you are. But first, I want to give a little bit of context to this. There are two core ways to think about our work ahead. First, there's a question of what are the immediate, concrete things that we can do to push back against authoritarianism right now, right? How do we block it? So, again, the first question is what are immediate, concrete things that we can do to push back against authoritarianism right now? The second, in addition, not opposed or not separate from, but in addition to, is the mandate. How are we building power for the long haul, right? Y'all know from previous mass calls that our framework is blocking and building. And as you're hearing from the folks next up, ask yourself, how can I work at both of these levels at the same time? How can I push back against authoritarianism right now, today, in my life and in our community? And at the same time, how can I make sure not to lose sight of the future? And how are we coming together to build power for the long haul? So, with that in mind, I'm now going to be joined by a group of folks representing action across our movement to share about how we can thread this work together going forward. I want you to welcome Barbara Arnwine and Daryl Jones, Izzy Bronstein, and Tom Bells to the panel. To start us off, I'm going to hand it to my shero, Barbara Arnwine, and Daryl Jones of the Transformative Justice Coalition to talk about one of the next protests that are coming up that we should be preparing for as an example of how we can block and build at the same time. Miss Barbara and Daryl, I will toss it to you.
Thank you, Ashley. And listen, we want to say to everybody who's on this call, to everyone across the country, congratulations. Saturday was just magnificent. That's all we can say. People showed up, they showed out, they did everything that was necessary, and the world heard you. If anybody thinks that we're being silent here in the US, they certainly don't know that we are loud right now. We're roaring in these streets. We're not going to stop. And that's what we want to talk about is what's next. You know, on Saturday, I had the joy of standing there in Chicago at Daley Plaza and addressing those tens of thousands of people who came out and were not to be deterred. And I wore my No Kings button and my Make Good Trouble John Lewis button because it's a united front. It's a united fight. And we all are in it. And it was a pleasure to march with Reverend Jesse Lewis Jackson, who was in his wheelchair, everybody, at 84, with fighting the disease that he's fighting. But he was out there in those streets and people loved it because we never stop. We keep on fighting. So where do we go from here? It's a famous line from a Dr. King speech. And where we go from here is July the 17th. Good trouble. Good trouble. We're going to make good trouble because good trouble lives on. And we will not stop until we win this fight. No kings, no tyrants, no despots. And we got to always have good trouble. So we are determined that on July 17th, we're asking all of you to turn out, each and every one of you. Host events in your city. Go to, our new website, and I'm going to talk about that in a moment. And if you don't see an event there, we want you to host one. Turn up, turn out, do what we do. And we want to make sure that we have the largest, the greatest possible number of people in the streets. We're going to center three things. We're going to center racial justice, because this country, it'll never be right until it's racially just. And that's our fight to make it so. We will talk about, we're going to center voting rights for all, because voter suppression has no right to be in this country. We're going to talk about centering the fight, our continued and united fight for a just, inclusive, and strong democracy. That is our goal. That is our obligation in these times. So we ask you to host these events. We ask you to attend. You can go to our new website. Thank you, Sarah of Indivisible, for your great creation. Thank you, Christine Wood, for putting together this website. You can go to the website, goodtroublelivesOn.org. GoodtroublelivesOn.org. You can also go to Mobilize, to our Mobilize link, where you can post events and also No Kings. You can find out ways to be involved. We want to tell you that you can also join us on Wednesday, June 18th at 7 o'clock p.m. for a national mobilization call. And we're going to be talking about how we make this all happen. Never forget, everybody, that in our battle, our unity is our victory. That's how we take down tyrants. That's how we prevail. That's how we kill autocracy. That's how we move forward in these times. United, we will never be defeated. I turn it over to my great co-leader, Daryl Jones. Hey, Daryl.
Thank you, Barbara. Thank you so much. Good trouble does live on. We named July 17th John Lewis Day because that's the day that John Lewis passed away. But John Lewis's family, who has sanctioned this John Lewis Day that we're presenting and we're mobilizing on, they ask that we continue it, but don't do it in the name of feeling sad that he has gone. Do it in the name of his legacy of picking up the baton and moving forward. So that's what we're doing. That's what Good Trouble Lives On is all about. We invite you on June 18th at 7 p.m. to come and join us as we have the host call to prepare for the July 17th actions. In John Lewis's book, Across That Bridge, he talks about faith, and it's something that we could use today because he says you've got to have as much faith as you have that today is Monday, is the amount of faith you've got to have in believing that democracy is worth saving. We ask that you come and join us on June the 18th at 7 p.m. for this planning meeting. And I tell you, I salute you, we take our hats off. Because when you take up the baton of fighting for democracy, you don't do it for one day or for one protest. It's a continual thing that you will ever, forever do throughout eternity. Thank you so much. We look forward to seeing you on June the 18th.
I'm trying to be in the room where it happened on June 18th. I'm trying to be there.
All right, Ashley.
I need every single one of you on this call to go on and click that Mobilize link. I need you to make sure that you get that goodtroublelivesOn.org website and post it everywhere because the work continues, y'all. I got to share this personal story before we move. When y'all know, some of y'all know, I used to run the Highlander Center with my colleagues there, and white supremacists burned our office down in 2019. And John Lewis wrote a letter telling us to continue making good trouble. And I take that very seriously. So if, I have to be accountable to my guy and to these incredible leaders from the Transformative Justice Coalition that are calling us into accountability to make that legacy stand in the 21st century sense. Y'all, it's our turn. So I can't wait to make some good trouble with y'all. And I can't wait to see y'all making good trouble together with us. Y'all, I got to shout out some more people because folks are in the chat. We are intergenerational on the call tonight. Ellen is on with her 8-year-old son who made his sign that he took to the protest in Hingham, Massachusetts. So shout out to Ellen and the 8-year-old. We see you. We appreciate you. Jen's 89-year-old mother is here and on the Zoom and was in her protest. So we see you. Thank you all for being here. I need you to hit the hashtag No Kings and let me know that you've signed up to be in the planning meeting. I need you to hit me with hashtag No Kings because you've decided that you're going to step into courage and host a day of good trouble with the Transformative Justice Coalition and all of our partners here on the call tonight. So make sure you're spreading the word that you are the answer, in fact, to the question of what happens after the mass mobilization of No Kings. You, my friends, are the answer to the question of what's next. So, I told you I got the best and the brightest on this call. And next, I get to tell you what you get to keep an eye on in terms of what we can do to be pushing back against authoritarianism right now. I'm so excited to welcome Izzy Bronstein from Common Cause to give us a good word about what we could be doing next. Go ahead, Izzy.
Thank you so much, Ashley. It's always so hard to follow Barbara, and I hate to do it again, but here we are. Every time. But absolutely, so thrilled to be here with all of you tonight. I have never felt energy like this like we felt on Saturday, like we're feeling today. This weekend, I marched alongside millions of y'all across the country. And when we take to the streets, we make visible what those in power would rather us ignore. We all know Donald Trump's agenda is divisive, it's harmful, and as we all have just proved, like deeply unpopular. That's how we raise the alarm. We show the size and the urgency of our resistance. But the power of that protest is only really realized when we follow it up with our action. Phone calls, emails, public comments, bold demands of the people that we send to Washington, D.C. and our state capitals to fight for us. So that's how we're going to translate this powerful moment into a lasting movement that delivers our safety, our dignity, and the prosperity for all of our communities and our families. The threats that we're facing, we all know are insurmountable. We got federal agents abducting our friends, our neighbors from their homes, their workplaces. Politicians are trying to slash the social safety net and healthcare to pay for billionaire tax cuts. And a would-be king in the White House thinks that our democracy is just like an inconvenient obstacle that's getting in his way. But there's a light at the end of this tunnel. And the only way for us to get there is one step at a time. So this week, in the next week, I'm asking each and every one of you to take one concrete action. Just one, to show our lawmakers that they can't wait us out. And the millions of folks who showed up on Saturday are going to keep showing up in that sustained civic action that Maria was talking about. This is where we come in. A wave of messages to Congress today shows them we're watching. And we're not letting all of their slide under the radar. The biggest issue before Congress right now is Trump's billionaire budget bill. It'll make ordinary people so much worse off so his rich donors and cronies can get a tax break. We're going to fight back with that energy y'all showed on Saturday. We're going to ask each of you to call your representatives, write a letter to your local paper, or join a phone bank to call voters and activate them to do the same. One of those three. Write a letter to the editor, call your representative, or join a phone bank. We're dropping a link in the chat right now. You can send a message to your representative in less than 60 seconds. A phone bank will take you a couple hours, but the power you will have will be so impactful. This is how we're going to turn this public outrage into actual political consequence. Don't let this moment pass quietly. Please take an action with us today. This is just one way to get involved. If you go to nokings.org/next, you can find dozens and dozens of other ways to take that next step into this next week. I am like so deeply inspired from what happened on Saturday. If you're on this call, you probably know that. You probably already understand that, millions of us marching has real power. We've all marched before. We've all protested before. What we saw on Saturday was different. But the true measure of whether protest is effective is what comes the days after. I went to the protest with my aunt, who's not the most political. And on the way back, she asked me if I thought that protests actually accomplish anything. And I told her, well, it depends. What are you going to do this week? What are you going to do tomorrow? And that's the question that I'm going to hold to myself this week. And I'm asking each and every one of you to hold. What are you going to do today? What are you going to do tomorrow? Thank you all so much for being with us. I'll pass it back over to Ashley.
I mean, Izzy just gave you a golden nugget of information, not only a call to action about how to be intentional about embodying the next step, what comes next, but also an easy one-stop shop for where you can consistently find re-upped calls to action and opportunities for you to get involved. And listen, I know some of the haters are going to say, oh, look, y'all couldn't come up with one call to action. Well, honey, we got a whole diverse community of people that got a whole bunch of needs. And guess what? We're committed to seeing every single one of them done. We're committed to seeing every single person at their comfort level and ability being able to be a part of this movement. It's a low bar for entry and it's a high bar of meaningful work. And there's plenty of work to be done, and you're going to be able to find all of it concentrated in one place. And that's at www.nokings.org/next. So if you were one of those people that's like, hey man, I heard a bunch of really smart people talking. I'm hyped. You got me hyped. Well done, Ash. Y'all got me excited, but I don't know what the hell you want me to do. I'm not stressed because guess what? I already told you we're going to send you the recording so you can watch this again. You can hear them tell you what to do. We're going to send you all of these links. But if you are a person that overachieves like myself and you want to see it now, you just can't wait. You got to see it right now. You want those links all in one place so you can be the first person to pitch it to your buddies, right? I get it. I'm that kid too. You can go right now to www.nokings.org/next. It's in the chat. It's in the comments. Y'all can be tweeting that out. You can be putting it on Blue Sky. You can be sending it to your group chats. Y'all can be signing up to be making good trouble with us. You can come to the planning meetings. You can sign up with WFP, with Working Families Power, and move on to do phone banks. I see y'all. I see the critics in my Blue Sky being like, well, I think the more strategic thing is to call our Congress people. Well, we already said we was gonna do that, friend. Come on in the room. Welcome. Come on and get on one of these phone banks with us. We would love it. Y'all, we've had thousands of people on the phone banks over the last several months. So come get in. Let's stop this big, bad, ugly bill from harming our people, right? You can get on the phone banks. You can come to the mass mobilizations. You can do the community gatherings. Y'all, we're going to put, if you want to, I know you've been on some of the other mass calls. You can call your sheriff. You can quit your T-Mobile plan. You can sign petitions. You can send letters, y'all. We've got it. It's all on www.nokings.org/next. Because when our elders and ancestors said by any means necessary, they meant by all the means. So we are giving you a diversity of tactics that you can get in where you fit in this movement for no kings, no dictators, no tyrants, just democracy, just beloved community, y'all. This is our moment. Izzy, thank you for that golden reminder. I'm so grateful for you and the Common Cause family. Thank you for being here. Y'all, this isn't a moment. This is a movement. So let's be about it. I have the esteemed privilege of getting us into a space of talking about what I mentioned before. We've got to not just block this authoritarian wannabe dictator, this wannabe king. We also have to build power for the long haul, right? This isn't easy. It's not drop in and drop out work. We've got to build pathways to skilling up ourselves and our communities and engaging more deeply to build collective power, right? We've got to do that if we're going to sustain this kind of energy, if we're going to win. And I believe that this is a call full of winners. We're trying to win. So let's build collective power. And to talk more about the ways that you can start doing that this very summer, I'm so excited to welcome up Tom Bales from the Indivisible crew. Tom, I'll toss it to you.
Thank you so much, Ashley and Barbara and Izzy and Daryl. I am just lucky to share this space with y'all. Hi, everyone. I want to close us out today by lifting up something that we should say over and over again. Everything that you have done to get us here matters. Whether you've marched or organized a rally or talked to your neighbors or volunteered or posted online or called your representatives, all of that is power and all of that is part of this moment. And that is the exciting part. Power grows when we build it with intention, when we bring it somewhere where it can deepen and connect and expand. And that is what an organizing home offers. It is a place where we move from moment to momentum, where we sharpen our skills, we grow our community, and we stay grounded in strategy over time. It's where we get to say, this is my movement, and I'm here to build it for the long haul. One opportunity to do that this summer is through 1 Million Rising. This is a national effort to train 1 million people on how to fight back against authoritarianism and build power that lasts. We are launching a full training series, not just to teach tactics, but to help people across the country find or build their organizing homes and to take the next steps they need to as leaders in their community. This is about creating a movement that does not just react. It is a movement that is grounded, that grows, and that is built to win together. And we are not alone in doing this, y'all. This is the work of many, many groups. This is a collective push. Our partners in this movement are offering powerful organizing homes of their own. The League of Conservation Voters is connecting people to a home with their 32 state network affiliates. The ACLU is offering a home focused on relational power and persuasion. 5051 is offering a home running a civic resistance crash course, and Indivisible is helping people find and join local groups that are ready to defend democracy. Each of these organizations is creating space for people to plug in, to build community, and to organize around the issues that they care about the most, from democracy and climate to immigration and racial justice and education and beyond. No matter what your passion or experience level is, there is a place for you to plug in. You can explore all of these options, like my friends have said, and find your organizing home at nokings.org/next. I want to say it with me out loud in your house right now, nokings.org/next. These are offering real homes for our movement work. These are places for you to grow your power and build community. These are places for you to help shape our big and broad strategy to defend and expand our democracy. These are spaces that honor all of the work that you have done, and it helps continue to flourish through long-term strategy and through connections. No matter your passion, no matter your skills or where you're starting from, there is a home for you in this work. You just have to choose it. So if you have been showing up, if you have been asking yourself how to go deeper, how to make this count for the long haul, this is your moment. Come train with us. Join a permanent organizing home and be a part of a force that is bigger than fear and louder than hate, and that's building every single day to build the future that all of us deserve. We are so glad that you are here. Let's continue to work together. And where are you going to learn more? Say it with me out loud. nokings.org/next. Thank you all so much, and grateful to be in the space with you.
Tom, we love you. We love all of our Indivisible fam. Y'all are showing up and showing out on the call tonight. Tom gave a benediction. There really ain't much more to say, y'all. That was it. That was it right there. But I'm gonna steal that tactic. I want you to say it with me wherever you are. I want you to say the website with me. It is www.nokings.org/next. It needs to be everywhere. There's no seriousness to the question of what's next. We're next. We're next. It's us. It's us. We're going to come back to that. I got to shout out some more people before we close out this call. I know I've kept you for longer than an hour. Before I shout you out, can we just show some love to Barbara and Daryl, the Transformative Justice Coalition fam, to Izzy and all of our friends and fam from Common Cause, and to Tom and every single Indivisible member, every chapter, every one of you, all of our 5051, all the partners that are on the call tonight. Can we just show some love to all the brilliance that we've received from these leaders that continue to make sacrifices for us every single day? Just show them some love. We love you. Thank you so much for being here with us tonight. I get to shout out that Science Goddess just told me that she's going in the other intergenerational direction by telling me that her 2-year-old grandson experienced his first protest on Saturday. So we had everybody from 2-year-olds to 95-year-olds, and probably younger and older than even that, y'all. We are an intergenerational movement. Y'all, if you actually signed up for something already, I want you to tell me what you signed up for. If you signed up to make good trouble, if you signed up to phone bank or send letters, if you signed up, got some more information from Tesla Takedown, if you got the Faithful Fight link and have clicked into it and you're looking into it and studying it and want to plan moving forward to talk about it with your friends, if you just got the What's Next website and you're going to share it out, I want you to tell me what your commitment is leaving this sacred space that we've created together tonight. Because again, the point wasn't just to help us be smarter people. The point was for us to take this knowledge that we've got, this debrief of what we just experienced, the history, the herstory, the weastery we just made, but to celebrate that, to acknowledge the hard, right? To make sure that we support the people that have been impacted by the violence that came our way and still stood in the face of fear with courageousness, right? That's what we did. And this is our opportunity to say, we actually still have more to do. That mass mobilizations are awesome, but there is organizing, there is non-compliance, there is more direct action, there is political education, there is advocacy, there is direct service, there is mutual aid. There are so many other tactical interventions that must be made for us to stop this wannabe dictator and his cronies and the oligarchy billionaire class from destroying our country and probably destroying the world with it, right? This is our time. So I'm going to sum up this call. We're going to do a little closeout of the lineup tonight by recapping. I want you to remember that you and your community can do things in your daily life to push back against authoritarianism starting right now. You don't have to wait. You can go to www.nokings.org/next and continue to walk in your journey of being on the proper side of history, the one that again is building beloved community and bending the moral arc of the universe towards justice, as Dr. King would say. This is your opportunity to push back, to block authoritarianism right now, and to work together to build power for the long haul, y'all. This is an opportunity for you to find your organizing home, whether it's here with one of the orgs that was represented tonight, with your local group, with a faith community, anybody, anyway. This is our time to come together across our differences to be the biggest we, to define who we are and who we are becoming as a country, as communities all across this country. This is our time. We get to define what the new America is. It is you, it is me, it is us together. And it's going to take every single one of us together making that work happen. So again, I want you to tell me what you're committed to doing by sending it out on socials and hashtagging it No Kings. And as you do it, I want you to keep using the hashtag so we can keep celebrating and seeing each other in community and learning from each other, being inspired by each other, and remembering that we are not alone in this work. We don't want to be, and we don't have to be. In fact, we are the majority. This minority rule will end because the majority of us will stand on the side of what's good and right and not on the side of what is harmful and evil. Y'all, I cannot wait to see you at the next trainings, the prep calls, the phone banks, and in the streets. Thank you for not regarding it robbery to be here with us tonight. I see y'all showing love in the chat. Thank you to every single one of our speakers. Thank you to the back of house folks. Thanks to everybody who sent emails and links and did outreach and made sure we could live stream. We love you. Thanks for every single one of you for being at the protest on Saturday. For the folks that wanted to be and couldn't be that made time for this call, we see you. We thank you. If you're watching on Zoom or YouTube or one of the live streams, we see you, we respect you, and we want you to be free. Y'all, thank you and have an incredible night. We'll see you next time.